more people using Facebook in India than there are living in most countries. It is Facebook's and WhatsApp's biggest market, in fact. But there are also big problems with fake accounts. Facebook has just taken down 687 suspicious pages and accounts linked to India's opposition party, the Indian National Congress, or INC. The company said this, quote, "The individuals behind this activity used fake accounts, and a review found that it was connected to individuals associated with an INC IT cell." Facebook has also removed 15 pages linked to BJP, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling party, and some were linked to a tech firm called Silver Touch that's worked on a number of government projects. Neither Silver Touch nor the BJP have responded to requests for comment. This is all happening less than 2 weeks before a general election in India. Now, Timothy McLaughlin is a journalist who has written extensively on this. He joins us now. Timothy, good to see you. In India, as you know,
Hey, how are you?
Facebook is taking action. Facebook has removed, hundreds of suspicious accounts linked to the two main parties. But can this be enough?
I mean, I think the proportion and the size of the issue in India, in terms of fake news, in terms of the stuff that's going on in the online ecosphere there, it's massive. And you mentioned part of it earlier, that it's the largest user base for both WhatsApp and the platform and for Facebook. In addition to that, the election period there is quite lengthy, which gives people, again, a lot of time for things to get stirred up. So I think it's the scale of the user base, it's the sheer number of people, it's the length of time of the election period, then the vote counting period after that. And then also, I think, part of the issue here is that there's a multitude of languages that these platforms are grappling with. It's not just one language that's being spoken across the country, it's a multitude of them. So a lot of variables that make India a very difficult place to control this kind of activity.
Yeah, there's so many challenges unique to India that make it so difficult to stem the spread of falsehoods and fake news there. I wanted to ask you about Mark Zuckerberg, what he said earlier this week. He wrote this op-ed, and he's encouraging regulation, and he says there should be more of it. But can a nation, namely India, regulate itself and regulate Facebook when Facebook accounts are linked to its own political parties and its own politicians are spreading fake news?
Yeah, I mean, you raise a really, really good point there. And I think that most of the efforts that we've seen around the region, in particular around Asia in particular, recently to kind of regulate fake news and to regulate the misuse of accounts have been very heavy-handed. We saw one introduced in Singapore yesterday that I think is going to cause a lot of concern for a lot of people. So it's a huge question, and if they, not only if they can do it, is there the political will to do it? Obviously, you see both sides here using these kind of covert tactics to campaign. I think that the number of users that the BJP had was a bigger impact. 2.6 million taken down, about 10 times what the Congress Party had removed. But yeah, I mean, the regulation from the governments themselves, has been a challenge. And in India, you see the head of the BJP last year, the president, talking about how they had so many WhatsApp users and they were so proficient at it that they could make anything go viral, whether it was right or wrong, true or false. So you see them almost kind of flaunting the ability to do these kind of things in the face of the companies.
Yeah, the political will has to be there, and the political intention has to be sincere for regulation to work. I also wanted to ask you about WhatsApp, because as you know, as you've reported on extensively, a lot of India's fake news issues has to do with WhatsApp, the Facebook messaging app. How do you crack down on fake news on WhatsApp when it's encrypted and when it's hard to monitor exactly what's being shared out there?
Yeah, so I think, recently in the past few years, there's been a huge migration of these viral rumors and fake news, postings moving from Facebook into WhatsApp. And, the last official numbers from WhatsApp, 2017, there was 200 million users. In India, since then, data prices have dropped dramatically. There's greater internet connectivity across the country. So I imagine those numbers that number's much higher now than it was at the time. Encryption, the things that make WhatsApp great and make it so appealing to users, are also things that make it very difficult to regulate. On top of that, there's a sense of a group sense, or when you're in a group, when you're in a political group or a family group, or sharing things with your friends, that perhaps you should trust content that comes via WhatsApp and pass it on to other people, maybe using it just as a warning. So I don't think all of it's malicious. I think some of it's unintentional. Yeah. What the government has proposed is kind of they have floated various. The way they phrase it has changed a couple times, but they would like traceability of messages from WhatsApp. Obviously, that's a huge issue that would kind of take away what makes WhatsApp WhatsApp. So I'm not sure how they're going to proceed. The company and the government have been discussions about this for many months. At the same time, WhatsApp is waiting to launch its payment system fully across India, something that they're very keen to do. Huge market there. I think Credit Suisse says it's going to be about $1 trillion mobile payments market by 2023. So obviously a lot of eagerness to get into the market. And this has certainly appears to have complicated those efforts and complicated the discussions that they're having with the government.
Yeah, moves are happening, action being taken by the government and also by the private sector, by Facebook. But still, the challenge here so immense when we're talking about fake news in India, and the election's just weeks away. Tim, thank you so much for joining me, and take care.